Welcome to another episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say. And today we'll be talking once more with Tim. I really enjoyed our conversation last time, so I'm glad we'll get to be talking again today. There's some things that I still want to ask about, and I think we could go a little further into the conversation since, it wasn't too long ago. But that being said, my name is Zach, and we talk about all things general aviation here, including student pilots, CFIs, and we'll be talking to airline pilots occasionally as well. We have a few coming up, actually, so that'll be really interesting. That being said, if you wouldn't mind reintroducing yourself for our audience.
Yeah. So my name's Tim Rolog, originally from California. Basically was doing a bunch of different jobs like we kind of talked about, right? Was in tech for a bit. And so this is a second career for me.
Okay.
Basically wanted to kind of chase that aviation dream, right? And so once I actually decided to make the decision to go for it, started looking into schools, and that's kind of where we talked about last time, found the podcast, and it got a really good perspective of how the school operated, right, with both the students and the instructors. So that was really, really pivotal for me to be able to kind of see that, and ended up calling and talking more with some of the advisors and stuff like that. And then did a discovery flight back in California, and then was deciding, all right, I'm gonna do it, and so moved out here and did my training all last year, and then started instructing at the beginning of the year.
Right, and you started here with your you started here working with Zero Time, right?
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And I remember I thought it was interesting how you made the change in the first place, right? Because it seemed like you kind of had something going for yourself, and then you kind of switched up, and you switched up one more time at least.
Yeah.
You've done quite a few different things.
Yeah.
But this one seems like you're gonna stick around a little bit more with this career.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's the plan. Yeah.
I'm wondering if there's anything that makes this stand out so far for you from anything else you've been doing before this.
Well, I think for me, it's there was probably just a big push to find something that I enjoyed doing on a daily basis.
Okay.
And so I liked working in tech. It was new for a bit, but then eventually it kind of just became the same thing over and over. And what's funny is I feel like it is kind of the same thing in aviation, but it also is just, who knows? Maybe it will get boring or something, right? But at the same time, it's so much fun, and I feel like there is differences, right? Like you're going to different places. Every day is different with the weather, right?
Right.
So it really isn't the same thing in that regard, and then also I think just at the end of the day too, working in tech kind of very maybe solitary at times, and so this is very much like you're working with people. You're always gonna be flying with someone,
right?
Especially instructing. I'm working with the student, right? When I was in training, I'm working with the instructor, right? And then when we go to airlines or something like that, you're probably flying with someone else, right? And then you're carrying passengers, right? So you're providing a service, so you're always just working with people. So I really like that aspect of it. I think also just kind of I like the idea of the lifestyle. So when I was working for a software company, I was able to work remotely, and so I was able to kind of travel and have some freedom and autonomy as far as like where I was and stuff. And so I think looking at the lifestyle that this job can bring you, like sure you might be based somewhere, right? But then you have a lot of flexibility on like where you go for work, like on work trips, and then you're able to kind of utilize being able to go travel, and just the nature of the job is traveling, right? And so I kind of I think I just get a little too I don't know if stir crazy is the right word, but if I'm locked into one spot, even here being in Dallas for the last almost a year and a half now, it's almost like I got to get moving, man. I got to go somewhere,
That's awesome.
So I feel like I just like being on the move. I think it kind of keeps me on my toes and kind of shakes things up, so then that way I don't kind of get locked into a certain rhythm that I can become too comfortable with, right?
I understand that, and then you even made the point about being around people and not so solitary. I think that's a good note, because we talk a lot about how there's a community at Thrust, but you also talk about how the community within aviation, the world gets smaller and smaller the more you're around and the more people you meet. But I never really thought about how, in comparison to a lot of other industries, that's not always the scenario. You're not always feeling super connected to a lot of people who do a similar thing, especially something so niche. So that's kind of a good takeaway, because I think a lot of people probably relate to working a job where you're like, oh man, I'm just kind of talking to the same people every day.
Yeah.
And it's not always going to be like that in aviation, or it doesn't have to be anyways.
Yeah.
So.
And again, I think with that too, just what I was doing was it was all online, right?
Okay.
So it was all just Zoom calls and, like video meetings. So it just all seemed very detached. Like I was working with people still. So it wasn't like I was just by myself, like, just emailing people.
Yeah.
But so I was still working with people, having like phone calls, but it was all phone calls and Zoom, meetings and stuff, all digital. So it just kind of seemed like all simulated person to person interactions where at least with this, like, I'm talking and being, like interacting with people all day, right? People in the hangar, like, as you're passing by, working with students, right? When you're in training, you're working with your instructor, and then the same thing, going forward. It's like I always really appreciate when I get on a commercial flight, right? Seeing the pilot go, "Hey, welcome aboard," or "Thanks for flying with us," and so I kind of hope to be able to do that too once I'm done with all my checklists and everything like that. Be able to greet people and send them off and stuff, and then again, just working with people, right? So it just kind of seemed very, very isolating in that way. Yeah.
Now that you're here at Thrust, you've been here for a little while. Could you give us a snapshot of where you're at in your journey at the moment? I mean, you've become a CFI, and you're currently working with students. But can you kind of tell us a little bit about what your day might look like from day to day?
Yeah. So right now, like for example, today we're doing this podcast, and this is kind of the start to my day. So I did originally have the early shift, so I was starting at like 5 a.m. and doing early flights. And then since then, I have switched to the evening shift, so I'm starting like around like noon, so like right around now.
Perfect.
And so like today I have a ground with a student. And then one of my students actually passed stage 3 for commercial, so he's ready to go, get ready for his check ride. So we're going to be doing some IACRA 48-hour checklist and stuff like that after that ground. And then after that, I have a flight after that. So, I mean, it really varies and really depends. Especially, I mean, this has been pretty crazy with all this weather that we've been having. It's been tough to fly.
It's been so sporadic. I mean, I'm experiencing like a rainforest, the cold, the heat, like winds. I can only imagine what it's like on you guys. You guys actually have to interact with that.
So, and the hardest thing is a lot of the ratings, right? We need to be able to get to a certain altitude and in VFR conditions. So like like visual conditions, right? And so when we have a bunch of days where the ceilings are, barely enough to even get out of Addison, it makes it really tough to make lessons productive. And so I think what we've just been experiencing is a lot of weather delay. But there's always like these glimpses of hope. It's like, oh, this week's been great, and then we can like get through a week of being productive, getting lessons in, stage checks, check rides, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden the weather just comes back. And
it's like a week at a time at most.
Yeah, but that's also just kind of all the Texas natives and welcome to Texas.
Exactly. But I forgot. Also coming from California. I was out there one time in an Uber or something, and the Uber driver was like, "It's about to rain," and we're like, "It seems fine," and then it's sprinkling. He's like, "I've got to pull it over," and I'm
what?
Like, I was like, "You're making Californians look like they can't handle it right now."
Yeah. No, but, well, it's true, probably. Yeah. to some extent, yeah.
But I hear what you're saying, though. It is definitely sporadic, and it's been something to kind of adjust to for you guys.
Yeah. So I think that's kind of been the main thing. I mean, it's really good when you have like, let's say like an instrument student, you can go up in some actual, IMC conditions and be able to go do a flight plan and kind of show them how it actually, works, and talking with, approach and center and stuff like that. So that's always good. But then also it's just like, you can't be doing that every single flight, because then you need like to be able to go practice, and the ability to be able to go do an approach and then just turn right back around and go do that same approach, right? Or a different approach on, the other side, maybe do a circling or something, just to get reps in and make it as productive as possible. Because I mean, we're not, trying to, just kind of burn hours, right? And just go fly. Like we're trying to be as productive as possible. So then that way, they're learning as much as they can in every lesson. And then also, just being mindful of kind of their progress and their program, right? So but yeah, so that's just kind of been like, I guess as of late, one of the probably the bigger difficulties has just been the weather. But we're almost toward, I guess, the end of spring and inching towards summer. So
we should be pretty solid.
I think hopefully it'll turn for the better, and usually summer's pretty good. But yeah, other than that, it's I think what's crazy is just it's always different. And so again, it's not even just instructing, right? Like this is the first job outside of training, like in the industry, and it's already so kind of yeah,
not,
you just don't know what's
it's
coming
already
next.
not
Yeah,
repetitive.
yeah,
Like, you know,
yeah. You don't know what's coming next. Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like as soon as a student passes, it's like, all right, cool. I wonder what kind of student I'm going to get next. Is it going to be instrument, commercial,
And who
whatever?
knows what they're
See
like?
it.
They're a different person. You're working with people, and
Oh
they
yeah,
provide so much nuance alone.
that
So
is actually a huge point. So
yeah,
yeah, that's the other thing too, because you're probably flying with someone different. Number one, as an instructor, every rating, right?
right.
Or every new student's going to be different.
Hmm.
And then looking forward, it's like you're not flying with the same pilot, if commercially, right?
Yeah.
So it's always just going to be different because you get to work with different personalities and
Hmm.
stuff. So that's actually a huge other a good point that I think kind of just bled into, right, that kind of um, not being the same tedious, monotonous kind of
Right.
day in day out.
Yeah, I wasn't even really thinking about that when you said it earlier either. But one of our we had this podcast clip that got a lot of views, and we reposted it and did it again.
Yeah.
But it was of Captain Philip Stromer. He's retired now from the airlines, but
Yeah.
he was talking about the day in the life of a pilot, and
Yeah.
he was talking about how you don't even know who you're going to be flying with. You know, you're going to
Yeah.
hop on a shuttle, you're going to hop in the cockpit, and who knows who you're going to be talking to. And that this is a people's business.
Yeah.
And so you don't get to be just technical if you're going to be going into somewhere where you're going to work with just people, with a lot of people. Now, that being said, there's a lot of different roles
Yeah.
in aviation. I want to ask you a little bit about that, right? Moving forward, do you imagine yourself going a specific direction with aviation? Are you going for the airlines, or are you going to take any other steps between here and the airlines?
That's a good question. I think coming in, you definitely have your idea of what you want to do, right? You
Yeah.
probably have an idea of like, all right, this is what I want to do. This is why I'm going into aviation.
Right.
And then that just quickly changes, right? So as soon as you get in, you realize, oh my gosh, there's so many different jobs out there that I didn't even know existed, right?
Right.
So I think what's pretty cool is the fact that, let's say, I think working for the airlines would be the most beneficial for just kind of the
Yeah.
work life balance and eventually like having a family and stuff like that one day.
Mhm, mhm.
I think that's probably one of the better options that I can see as of this point. But then you also have some time, when you're not working, right? So like, let's
Right.
say you're working or flying like 80 hours a month or something like that. You might have 10 to 12 days off, something like that. So you have some time to kind of do other things. So honestly, I just really love instructing. It's a lot of
Yeah.
fun to work with people, and I think that's also what's just so cool about aviation. And I'm sure it's not just aviation, but it seems that every single thing about learning how to fly a plane is learning from someone who's more experienced, and
Yeah.
they learn from someone who's more experienced, right? And it's kind of just this paying it forward type of thing. So
Mm,
it's like I had
mm.
such great instructors, and they all taught me everything they knew, and they were trying to make me the best pilot that I could be.
Right.
And then I'm just trying to pay that forward and do the same thing for my students. And
Right.
it's kind of just a very cool, and it almost just seems like, when I was working in tech or something, you can kind of find everything online,
Yeah.
and you don't need to work through a
Interesting.
person, right? I mean, sure, a person like uploaded information online, right?
Right.
But it's like, all right, let me, like, there's kind of this bug, in the software that I'm kind of running into. Let me see if I can try and fix it, right?
Mhm.
And so you start looking online and you just start reading articles, and sure, it's on there, but in order to like, you know what, my landings just aren't really that good. I need to go work with somebody.
Right.
You're working with someone, right?
Yeah.
And then
It kind of
they're
requires that.
yeah, and they're like, hey, I ran into the same thing when I was going through private, or I ran through the same thing when I was going through whatever rating, right?
Right.
And this is what helped me. And then you start working with them. So it's kind of just very much, it feels like you're learning from people. So again, that people business thing, right?
Yeah. Exactly.
And it's not, and then sure, there's online courses, right? And we have the
Mhm.
classroom setting, but again, our classroom setting is not just an online,
Right.
video that you're watching. You're literally in a classroom in front of a whiteboard, and there's an instructor up there going through slides, writing on the whiteboard, talking to you, asking questions. So it's very much, it feels like you're learning from people who are more experienced than you, that
Mhm.
have great insight and advice to kind of just teach the next generation of pilots, right? And
Right.
then once you're kind of in that position where now you can start giving that information out, right? So I still feel at times it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm an instructor, right?
Yeah.
Like I still feel like so new, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, I have enough information to help the next generation out and
Right.
these next students out, to where I'm trying to give them as much information as I possibly can to make sure that they're able to be the best pilot that they can
Right.
be. And it just feels like it's very much it's kind of almost like just like oral traditions,
Yeah,
like
exactly.
back
It's like a
in
type of stewardship. It's
yeah,
like it's a shared knowledge that you can't quite encapsulate into a Word document,
yeah,
or some sort of book or something like that. I mean, sure, there's lots of regulations and things and
yeah.
knowledge
I mean, look at all these books,
yeah,
right? So like, yeah,
exactly.
we dive into these books too, but it only gets you so far.
Exactly.
And I
You can't.
feel
It's like
like,
learn how to fly a plane from a book.
yeah, and I'm sure, like, especially with tech too. Like I was like getting into like web development. I had like one of my best friends was in a web development, so of course I worked with him, right? But
Right.
again, this just kind of feels slightly different, where it just does feel like yeah, it's kind of that oral tradition being passed down, and you just like there's some stuff you
Yeah.
just can't learn unless you're in the plane with someone more experienced, kind of helping you
And it's
out,
a
right?
physical craft,
Hmm. Yeah,
And I've come to that. I've come to that place where with I do video and things like that, and it's all so
yeah,
digital. That sometimes I'm like, man, I kind of wish it wasn't. I
yeah,
wish I could enjoy this the same physically. And there's a lot of art forms and things like that, or crafts that are so physical, and I could feel the difference. My favorite
yeah,
jobs have always been when I've been able to ask lots of questions
yeah,
and learn from other people.
yeah,
Because I like connecting with people and sharing information back and forth. I
right.
like conversation, and so that makes me think about what you're saying. Like you're not really in a rush to be moving out of your CFI position. You're still enjoying it where you're at, so
Yeah.
you're not really too worried about that next part.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and I think that kind of, yeah, we all obviously trailed off
No,
there for,
that's
yeah.
totally fine. I found
But
myself trolling back. I didn't
yeah,
know.
yeah, but yeah, good circle back.
Yeah.
But I feel like, yeah, I have my goal of I think going to the airlines, but at the same time, like there's some cool corporate or private gigs, right, where you'd be flying some pretty cool planes.
Yeah.
That isn't just a Boeing or an Airbus, something like
Right.
that, right, or CRJ, ERJ.
Yeah.
And so I think that'd be kind of cool, but at the same time, it's one of those things where I'm going to keep all the doors open.
Yeah.
And I think there's also some really cool opportunities that I think you could probably do part time. So like, let's say I even
Mm.
would go to, fly private or fly, for regional airlines, something like that.
Right.
Can you continue instructing?
Mhm.
You could kind of get into, like, we're starting the aerobatics thing, like
That's pretty
aerobatic,
cool.
if you especially get a little bit more, cash to kind of like, pay for some cool flying, like
Right.
that. So there's just so many different things that you could probably do that you don't even realize are
Yep.
options. And so I'm keeping doors open, but I think even then, if I were to go like the airlines, there you could do like so many like little side gigs. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
And
mean,
just keep kind of that curiosity and the fun going
I,
with
I
it.
feel like I've heard people talk a lot about a lot of things you're saying, and also, maybe you find yourself saying, "Oh, this is a little more repetitive," or maybe I want to expand my knowledge into more things. Maybe I want to
Mhm.
learn how to work on the planes. Maybe I want to get my A and P,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or maybe I like the tech and the business side of aviation. I've
Right.
seen people, go through their journey in life, and they marry the different things together that they've been through or have done. And so, I mean, even for you, I mean, there's going to be so many opportunities. Business and or technology wise in aviation. So
Yeah.
it's a big world.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on.
But I think you made a good point about just kind of enjoying where you're at, right?
Oh, hmm.
Because at the same time, you can kind of see maybe with people who approach it differently, if they're just kind of watching the clock tick and just waiting for that magic 1500,
Right.
right? Instructing is going to be a slow and very long, tedious journey, right?
Exactly.
But if you're kind of enjoying, like, oh cool, get to go fly with this student today, he's
Mhm.
super fun to go fly with, and he's in this stage 2, he's getting close, like you're kind of watching their progress and just going up and having fun and kind of focusing on, like, all right, what's today's goal, right? What's
Right.
today's mission, and what's the purpose of today? You can kind of tackle it day by day, and it kind of, I feel like, almost just goes quicker. Like
Mm.
I got hired in January, and it's just like, I can't believe it's May already.
Yeah,
Like
it's
it
go by
feels like
fast.
it's flown by fast. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
trying not to just watch the clock tick, right?
Right.
I think also just helps a lot, because it's like you go through this long journey of just
Hmm.
getting all your ratings, and then it's time to finally get your first job to start time building, right? And
Hmm.
so for a lot of people, it's instructing. And when you go into instructing, it's like same thing. It's still going to be you're only halfway there yet,
Yeah.
if that. If you're looking at time, right?
Yeah. If you're really looking at it
If
that
you're
way,
looking at
yeah.
hours, you're not even close to a
Yeah.
third yet, or yeah.
Exactly.
So uh, yeah, I think that's probably the biggest thing is you can definitely tell people are kind of like watching the clock and going like, oh man, I got 8 hours of flying today. It's like, dude, you remember when you were in training and like really wanted 8 hours of flying a day and you only got to fly 2 hours, like, and you're complaining about it now,
Right. Right.
So I think, yeah, a huge difference between watching the clock tick versus hey, what's gonna make today fun, and
Yeah.
yeah. could be doing something else, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would hope that people aren't feeling like they're just waiting, because you want to be able to say that you're enjoying it while you're there.
Yeah.
While you're there, and not looking back like I wish I enjoyed it more while I was there.
Yeah.
I do think that being present is something that's not always easy to do when you're under a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And being able to enjoy what you're doing while you're doing it can go a long way. I'm wondering if there's any advice you would have for people who are in flight training right now and really stressed. We talked a little bit about this on the first time.
Yeah.
But I kind of just liked some of your approach, and I wanted to know if there's like let's just say that somebody knows that man, I'm going to be so stressed if I do this. I don't know if I can do it. This seems like a really hard thing to do. But I really do want to start flight training. I haven't yet because I'm not confident. What would you say to someone like that?
So the question is, who would you say, or what would you say to someone who is
kind of nervous or afraid?
Yeah, nervous or stressed. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's kind of with life in general, right? Yeah. You're going to have to take some risks, and you're going to have to, make some leaps of faith, right? Mm-hmm. I would say definitely don't rush into a decision, and there's different paths to go about it too. So kind of weighing out your options, and everyone's situation is going to be different too. So just because maybe a lot of people are doing one path doesn't mean it's your direction, right? And maybe what's best for you with your situation, whether personally, financially, with your family, right, whatever stage of life you're in, right. But then also, I mean,
that goes far already. I'm wondering if someone's just, because I guess what I want to do is, let's say that this person's already in flight training. You have a student who's being a little stressed, and you feel like they're getting stuck on something they can get past. Let's just say, have you had this happen so far? Is there an example that you kind of helped someone get past somewhere where they were getting stuck?
Yeah, I think I've seen some people with like maybe just kind of issues with confidence, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Like from my perspective, I'm like, dude, this student's killing it, right? Like they're doing great. And then they're kind of going, oh, I'm not ready for, stage 3. And so I think when we're going through training, we can get more in our heads than we should probably actually be doing, right? And so I feel like in that situation, and this is something that I've been kind of, I think, having to navigate with, just maybe being more assertive as the instructor, like, trust me, right? Like you are ready for it. I've seen, what you're flying, right? You're passing everything, at least in my eyes. It's time to send you for the stage check, right? Versus they think like, oh, maybe just like 1 or 2 more flights, and it's like, why waste hours when you're ready to go, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's not like it's like, oh, you're done with your rating, right? You got like stage 2 and then stage 3, and and then EOC or check ride or something like that. But I remember doing the same thing. Like, I remember, especially in private, I think I maybe started getting used to a little bit, or started trusting my instructors more whenever they would be like, all right, you're ready for this, or oh, that was good. Like, so in my head, I'm like, oh, that was probably a bad maneuver, or oh, that was probably not a great flight. And then they'd kind of give me their take on it or something, or say, no, you are ready for stage 3, or you are ready for the check ride, right? Yeah. So you may not feel ready, and then that's the other thing too. Everyone, there's so many people who are like great pilots. They're great on the ground too, right? So it's like their ground knowledge and their flying skills are ready, but then those check ride nerves never go away, and so they go into a check ride, and there's like, I maybe just need like one more day to study. It's like, you're gonna get that one more day, and then you're gonna think, oh, there's so much, because there is so much knowledge to know.
So you can never be all the way there. I mean, you know what I mean?
There's always more that you could think you could be doing. Right. So I feel like kind of just trusting the instructor to be like, hey, they're going to send you when you're ready, right? They're not going to send you early if you're not ready, right? Because it's like our name goes on it too, right? Like, hey, I'm sending you, I'm putting my name on your endorsements, like you're ready to go.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
It's a big deal. So we're not just going to send you if like you're not ready, right? And so I think that's probably a big thing is kind of trust the instructor, right? As far as like where you're at, how you're doing, and how you're progressing. But I
remember you're a student at this moment too, right? It's we want to. I mean, I'm imagining myself in the situation because I could probably be like that. I'm like, you say I'm ready, but I don't know. But to kind of be able to perform as someone who's not an expert is a different kind of confidence, I guess. You know what I mean? Like, it's one thing if you're the best in the room at something to feel confident, but it's another thing to to sit there and say, okay, I'm still learning, but I can still have confidence. Like, you don't have to be the best to have confidence,
right?
I guess. And that's probably not the easiest thing to remember when you're flying a plane,
Yeah,
or going into a check ride.
yeah,
So I'm imagining how hard it is to kind of get someone to transition into that thought process.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's kind of tough, and I think that's where the different personalities that you work with comes in, because everyone's going to be a little different, right? So some people are going to be naturally more confident, some people are going to be a little bit more timid. I think another thing you kind of see with students with like kind of a confidence issue is, let's say maybe they are kind of messing something up,
Okay.
and they'll kind of just tend to resign and just kind of give up. And it's like, don't give up, because it's like, you just want to always continue going forward, right?
Yeah.
So even though I think kind of just what training teaches you is as something goes wrong, you continue to push through kind of the chaos and the uncomfortability of oh, I didn't do that correctly, or I didn't do that right, but you just got to keep pushing forward. And so
it seems like that's kind of the mentality of most of the people that I've talked to.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm not talking to every single student, right? It's very anecdotal, but I talk to so many people, and they're like, yeah, I'm really focused on moving forward and getting it down and figuring this thing out. And I think that maybe some people, this is their first time really locking in on something that you could kind of call a craft, something that is like a forever getting better at kind of skill.
Yeah.
Because, you go to school. A lot of people, they'll go to school and they do what they're supposed to do, and they can check things off a box and be like, I'm following the rules or whatever. But this isn't really like that.
Yeah.
This is a forever getting better thing. I'm never all the way there.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so it's just new to experience that, I think, for a lot of people.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I say this because I have talked to a lot of students or people who were students and then became CFIs. And then they're like, I can see the difference in their mentality, their maturity, their confidence, that kind of thing. So can you paint a little bit of picture of someone who you feel like, oh, this person's confidence is really helping them out right now? Like, can you paint a picture of maybe a student you've had that's doing a good job at keeping their head on straight, even if it is challenging?
Yeah. Well, I think one like situation kind of popped up. This student basically had a situation where they kind of had two like check ride busts or like failures, right?
Okay.
But they kind of just continued to like think positively and go like, hey, you know what? I learned from those mistakes, right? And the only thing to do is kind of continue moving forward, right? Like, because the worst thing you could do is just kind of ruminate on, oh my gosh, I busted that check ride, or I didn't get that maneuver right, and am I going to get it right the next time, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was, I think it's almost like, maybe like a fake it till you make it type of thing, like kind of going like, hey, I got this, and even though like it's not necessarily, it's just going to continue getting easier, it might be harder, right? Because different people kind of handle different ratings differently, right? Like instrument's so much different than private. And so, one student might excel with private, but then struggle with instrument and vice versa.
Right.
But I think also the biggest thing too, and again, I tried to explain it to the student as they're kind of going into, their like next check ride. It's like, hey, number one, it's not the end of the world. And I think this is a theme we talked about last time on the podcast was like, dude, this is supposed to be fun, right? Like this is a lot of people's dreams, and like, they've been looking up at the sky, watching planes fly by since they've been a kid and being like, that'd be so fun to do. And now you're doing it. And then, but instead of thinking, oh, I get to go fly, and yeah, maybe it might be with the DPE, like for an evaluation, right? Hey, I get to go fly today and get to go, do some lazy eights and chandelles and all these fun maneuvers, right?
Yeah.
Instead of kind of thinking about it like that, they're kind of going in like, oh no, I busted on the last one. Like, shoot, am I going to bust on this one? I can't get two. I can't get two.
Wow,
I can't get
such
three.
A finite, way of looking at it, and it can get stuck that way. Yeah.
And I think that just kind of, it only, just
it's like a snowball effect.
Exactly. Yeah. It just keeps getting bigger as far as, oh no, that stress, right? Just continues to kind of snowball and get bigger. And I'm just talking, from my experience where I didn't pass my private EOC. Right. I had to redo steep turns, just that one maneuver. That was actually the first maneuver I did in the check ride too, or the EOC was, and the examiner's like, I'm sorry, that's unsat. And I'm like, shoot. And then, and then he's like, all right, well, we can either like go back and you can, start fresh another day, or you can continue going on and do the rest of the EOC and see how much you can get done. I was like, yeah, let's just go ahead and do the rest of the stuff. And then passed everything else.
Yeah,
and
so
it's just that
you can at least know what you're working on. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and even then, I think I was like, you know what? In that moment, I think during private, I definitely did have like a grip on I guess my personal progress through the training program.
Right.
Was I was kind of like, oh no, am I going too slow? Am I getting this? Is this really for me? Right. And I was so stressed and kind of just gripping everything. Like, I was really kind of stressed out about it. And then somewhere, I think maybe in a weird way, I think I learned a lot from that failure, right?
Yeah.
Where, okay, I busted on the first thing. Like, that's the first thing I got graded on. I was like, oh, what a like bad way to start, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna try and get as much as I can done in the COC and whatever I have to redo. Like, I already have to redo
Kind
it.
of took the pressure off.
It took the pressure off, and then I did everything, and it was actually, I feel like at the end of that, like the EOC, I was like, I'm actually pretty proud of myself, like, I didn't like, pass the first try. Right. And, but it was one of the things where, you know what? Yeah, I definitely could have, I was just fixating on different instruments. And so I let my altitude drop. Mm-hmm. And, so didn't let that happen again, right. And took that kind of new mentality again. I think I was like so stressed about, am I going at the right speed? Are people going faster than me? Are they getting the material quicker than I am?
Right.
Am I supposed to be here? Right. And then when I started instrument, it helped when you have a good instructor. I think, both my instructor for, the whole program were amazing, but especially my instrument instructor, he just made it super fun.
Yeah.
And I think I just started going into it, starting from instrument, going, yeah, I'm supposed to having fun with this, right?
Yeah.
And like, it's been a fun dream and an idea to do for a while, and so let me just start having fun with it and stop worrying about how fast am I going? Am I getting this? Am I supposed to be here, right? And then from instrument on, it was just all fun. Yeah. Or I started making it more fun. Sure, it's like, you gotta be serious and buckle down at times. Like, all right, I have a check ride tomorrow. I need to do my nav log. I need to do my, all these things, and I need to study, right? Like, some things are serious, but again, looking at it from the perspective of, I'm gonna go have fun today, right? Yeah. Like, I get to go fly and do maneuvers with, DP or something like that, right? Or an examiner. And I think it just, from there, it just completely changed in a weird way. I ended up like almost going faster and just kind of like more, the whole program went smoother from there on out.
It's funny how you can kind of, and it seems like you're kind of pointing towards that moment kind of being a little bit pivotal, at least in realizing, oh, I kind of got moving after that. I kind of felt a little bit better. I was kind of more focused on having fun still. Yeah. And that allowed me to kind of not worry about the things I was worried about before, because you were focused on something else. Yeah. And therefore solved the problem kind of in a way. Yeah. I like that. You said it was an EOC or DP. It was the EOC, right? For your private.
Private. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then the instructor or the examiner was asking you, okay, well, you failed like the first thing. Do you want to? We can stop now, or do you want to keep going? And if you take that out of context, you kind of took that to an extreme. I feel like you were kind of like, I feel like in that moment you chose, I'm just gonna keep going. Yeah. Like, you took that option, and I feel like you kind of ran with it past that check ride. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it kind of clicked in your head, like, oh, even if I fail, I get the option of keeping going, and you had to choose in that moment. Yeah. And you did.
Yeah, because it is true. Like, sometimes that will shake you up so much, where, oh no, I unsatted, and you just can't get that out of your head. So then continuing to actually just be kind of worse. Like, you're just going to continue unsatting maneuvers or something like that. Yeah. But yeah, in a weird way, I think it almost like it was the first rating, right? And it was the first maneuver of that EOC, right? Mm-hmm. And it just, again, I think it just took that pressure off. It's like, all right, well,
I don't have to worry about failing anymore.
Yeah, like, I already busted. It's like, all right, so let me just get through as much as I can, right? I'm already gonna have to retrain and go up and do it again, right? So, and it kind of took the pressure off. And then going into instrument, it's like, well, I already busted private, so it's like, it can't get worse than this, and then again, just kind of took the pressure off, where Sweet. Like, I just don't think that stress was there anymore. Yeah. Or it always is kind of there.
It is always gonna be there, but you didn't let it cripple you, it seemed like. Right. I'm not saying it maybe cripple you before either, but I guess that's the way you're explaining it to me. Yeah. I feel like I can see a pretty clear difference in how you're describing how you felt and how you kind of felt afterwards. Yeah. And the question, I think, originally was something like, how can you see like the difference between someone who is maybe benefiting from a little bit more confidence and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of use yourself as an example, in my opinion. Like you're saying,
Yeah.
it's not like the stress isn't there, but something else was also there, and it was a little more of the confidence or the desire to have fun, at least.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. Well, and also I kind of want to add, it's like it is about enjoying the process, enjoying the training, because it is a good amount of time, anywhere from like a year to 2 years, depending on what type of program you go into and stuff like that. So it's not like a quick thing, but also it's the only time you're going through training, right? So kind of enjoy it, but then also it's almost like I tried to switch my mindset from something like, oh, let me just learn what I need to learn in order to pass,
right?
Instead of like, well, let me actually learn this so then I can be better in this area, right?
Exactly.
And so
That's
I think
what I mean.
it's like both of those two things. Let me enjoy learning,
right?
Let me enjoy like learning and trying to be the best pilot I can be,
right?
And from there, it's less about, well, what's going to make me pass, right? Just give me the right answer to like be able to pass. And hang on, like I actually want to know this on a deeper level. Like there's
a distinction there that you're drawing, and that's a distinction I was having a conversation with someone else about. And I can't quite get into that, but it's kind of like when you get a job, you can, check the boxes and show up and fulfill your role or your title, which is, that if that works, okay, great. But then there's always the difference you can see in someone who's like, no, I just want to be the best I can be at this.
Yeah.
Or let me enjoy being good at it. Do I take pride in like the craft or whatever?
Yeah.
So it seems like you did get to take it on as a craft.
Yeah, so, and that's a good point you mentioned earlier too. And I think that's what's different about aviation, where I personally, I think it is true. I think you can get it in different industries, right? Yeah. But what I wasn't enjoying learning in tech, and so but here it's like so much fun. Yeah. Where I actually do enjoy, like, dude, I can't wait to learn about different planes, right? And there's always that room for growth, right? So like right now you're just an instructor, and then maybe you move into a more senior position, right? Sure. And then from there you go to the airlines and you're sitting in, your first officer, and then you can move to captain, and then you upgrade planes, right? And then there's just so many different things that you can continue to work on and improve. And then even if you fly the same plane over and over again, like you have to have recurring training, and there's always
and
something
the landing
to learn.
Is a forever game,
Yeah.
So.
There's something about like fluid, like water and air, that I feel like it's never the same, right? There's like that old what is it, like adage or saying or whatever, it's like no man steps in the same river the same at the same time, because it's not the same man, it's not the same river.
Yeah, you got it. You got it. Yeah, that's my favorite. My bad, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yeah, you're good. I like how excited you got right there. Yeah,
it's like my favorite thing. That's actually where I got one of these things for. But anyways, I don't remember which one it was now.
Yeah.
But it's actually the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, no man stands in the same river twice, because it is not the same river and he is not the same man.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah.
That's my favorite one. But to your point, it's forever changing. It's forever game kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so like as you gain more experience, you're becoming a different pilot, right? And then every day is different, right?
Yeah.
Like different winds, different weather, different conditions, different places, right? Then different planes at some point, right? Yeah. So it's always just going to be different. There's always something to learn. I feel like it's just also it's kind of like that another thing, like the Dunning-Kruger effect, where like you start to learn more about something, and then you get to a point where it just like your confidence almost tanks a little bit, because you're kind of like, oh my gosh, wait, there's actually, like, you think like in the beginning you're kind of like, oh yeah, I think I'm actually becoming an expert in this, and then eventually you're like, wait, hold up,
there's so much more.
This is so much more. Yeah.
And
I think I found that with aviation, where it's like, I think this could be a lifelong learning and craft to continue to just kind of perfect and to continue to grow in, where it's just going to be a constant journey to like learn and continue with it. I don't think you'll ever get to a point where you know everything,
right?
And then even then there's just the whole process of like, let's say you haven't like had to think about private level stuff in a while, right? And it's like, oh, I haven't thought about that in months, right? I even still remember that, and so like fading or disuse, right? Kind of forgetting certain things. And so it is one of those things where it's just so vast, and you could just get into so many different, deep dives and rabbit holes.
That's awesome.
So I feel like it's kind of that never ending journey of learning and growing, for sure.
Okay, gotcha. Well, then to give to kind of back up on it a little bit and give some people some perspective, because I'm thinking about the people who are watching this and trying to figure out what they might want to do, if this is something they might want to do I'm not sure if I have the right idea of who's watching and listening, but just in case, because it was hard for me to understand when I first got here. Can you give me like a really maybe a simple overview of what the steps look like in training? And when I say that, I just mean like you're a private, and then you're gonna have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, and then you're gonna have like an EOC. I mean, is that kind of like the process as you move through all the ratings?
Yeah, more or less. So every rating is going to be slightly different, but I'd say for private, instrument, commercial, pretty much that's the general structure. So you start off, and let's say with private, from day one at the beginning of every rating, you probably, unless you're like a stellar student, you already have the writtens done. You're starting to work on the writtens, right?
Right.
Because that always takes, people always underestimate how much time that takes to actually study and get it done. And so our process has kind of changed a little bit. When I was going through training, we had to have the writtens done before you started the ground class, or before you started flying.
Yeah,
so
that was a rule for a little while.
Yeah. And then and I almost like that, just because you could get the written done and then not have to worry about it, and then you can just focus on the rest of the ground knowledge and the flying and stuff like that.
Right.
But then I think too many. I don't know if it just worked for all the students, right? So then now the process is basically, by the time you're done with ground class, which there's a ground class for every single rating, except for when you start to get into the teaching ratings and multi, it's kind of like an academy style. So that's just kind of where it shifts. But I guess starting with private, instrument, commercial, you're starting with working on the written, and then by a certain date you need to get that done, and usually it's about like 3 weeks in, something like that. So there's plenty of time. Like if you don't have it done by then
but there's an expectation for that.
Yeah. And if you need help, there's study halls and things like that to go to. And then you're also basically, as soon as one is available, and usually they get one going pretty quick. So like, let's say you finish private and now you're moving on into instrument. Private's the only different one, where I guess we're starting with all the new ZTA kids, right? That are students that are coming in. And when they come in, Thursday every month, right? That's going to be monthly. But then like with instrument, as soon as there's maybe 3 or 4 students ready to go, actually maybe even just like 2 or 3 students, then they'll make a ground class and they'll start them off, and then you start flying too with that. And so but then the only other thing too is, especially with private and instrument, we start them off like stage 1 is just in the simulator. And so kind of just to get them warmed up with like the different rating, right? So private, you're just kind of, hey, getting the idea of like, how does it feel to taxi and then take off the plane, and all the controls and things like that. Here's the throttle, here's your yoke, here's your rudders, right? And then instrument, it's kind of like, all right, let's start to do the same thing, but we're going to be in like IMC conditions, or you might be flying VFR, but you're under the hood, so you're wearing foggles, and so it's going to be different flying. So we kind of start them off in the simulator just to get like a kind of a warm up, right? And then once they're done with stage 1, then they go into flying. And then
for stage 2.
Yep, stage 2 and stage 3. Then it's all in the plane, and then when you're done with stage 2 and stage 3, and I loved the stage checks. Like I've actually done a couple tours. Like students will, or potential students will kind of come into thrust and be like, hey, can I get a quick tour or talk to you guys about it or whatever. So I'll be chatting people up, and I was talking to someone last week who is in part 61, and they don't have any stage checks and stuff. And so they kind of do similar, like your instructor will kind of make it a mock, but I think what's different is it's not your primary saying you're ready to go. Yeah, that would pass a check ride. It's like you're going with a different instructor, a specific stage checker, right? Stage check instructor. And they're going to be able to like sign you off. Yep, you passed stage 2. Yep, you passed stage 3. You're ready to go to the next stage, or you're ready to go to EOC or check ride. And then, then it's EOC or check ride, depending on what the rating is. So right now, private and instrument are going to be EOC. So we have that in-house. That just means that there's a specific instructor who's able to conduct EOCs, so end of courses. And then commercial and CFII are the check rides where you actually go with the DB. So that's pretty much like I'd say private through commercial. It's pretty much the same. They're just slightly different, like hours and time, right? So maybe like on average, and maybe on average like 3 months for private, maybe a month or 2 for instrument, maybe like 2 or 3 months for commercial. And then CFI and CFII, you kind of have like these academy style grounds. So you start with like an academy, and it's kind of maybe like 6 to 8 hours in the classroom. So it can be a lot for those ones, but there's just a ton of like information and stuff to learn. And then you do that. Once you're done with the academy, then you get into basically 2-stage checks. So the flying's not that much different. You're basically doing all the same stuff that you did in instrument and commercial,
right?
But now you're teaching it. So you're basically just doing the exact same thing, but you're now talking it through and teaching a student.
And that's what they're grading you on.
Yeah.
Too, in those ratings.
Yep.
Gotcha.
That and just safety, right? Like situational awareness and stuff like that. So that's a big one. That's part of the CFI and CFII ratings. And then after that, going into multi-engine. So then being able to fly, like the planes we got here, like in the Seminole. Yeah. And then, but yeah, so pretty much they all have the same structure. Basically, you're going to have some kind of ground class, right? You're going to have stage checks, whether it's like 2 or 3, to be able to be signed off and ready to go for the next stage, or hey, you're done with the rating, you're ready to go for your final examination type of thing,
right?
EOC or check ride. And yeah, that's pretty much the structure. And I think I really enjoyed that, just having that kind of checkpoints, right? Yeah. And it's not the end of the world. Like, oh no, I didn't pass my stage 1. I just have to go redo like a maneuver or something. You go get a retraining, and then you really kind of polish it up and dial it in. And so I think it's actually really beneficial to have that kind of set up those checkpoints, right?
Right, and I would imagine that's the kind of thing I would need, is to be able to break it up into pieces like that and make it incremental, and allow myself to feel confident because I got past this stage check. I'm a step closer towards being ready for my EOC. Yeah. And then by the time you get through stage 1, 2, and 3, you're like, and then someone says, hey, you're ready for your EOC or your check ride, then like, and so you kind of have to, like you said earlier, kind of have to trust the person who's endorsing you. Yeah. And because you can question yourself, but it's like, hey, I know you've got this. Kind of thing. So I would want that for myself as well. Yeah. Are you a part of, I wanted to ask you this earlier, actually. Yeah. Crazy. Are you a part of any organizations or anything like that? Do you do any flying outside of thrust?
So as far as flying outside of thrust, I haven't really done too much. I mean, what is actually funny you mentioned that. I actually just joined a like network for like Christian aviators. Okay. And so it's really cool. We're able to kind of meet up and just kind of share both our faith and then our passion for aviation, awesome. Right? And so that's been really cool. And then other than that, there's some other like organizations like NAFI. National Association of like Flight Instructors, that I ended up joining because there's a bunch of like discounts and stuff like that, and and I haven't like explored it too much, but it looks like there's like kind of forums and meetups and things like that. Meetups and stuff too. Yeah, another good one is like on the FAA website. They have like some seminars and webinars. Okay, sweet. And it can also count for like wings credit, so like wings programs. I have gone to a couple of those, and one of them was pretty cool. It was like up in McKinney, and it was like an IMC club. So like I think it's EAA. I think it's an Experimental Aircraft Association. Correct. Yeah. I'm not part of that, but they are the ones that organize it, and it's like an IMC club. Okay. And it was really cool to kind of go up there and like a bunch of experienced pilots and basically
do a lot of aerobatic stuff too.
Well, actually, I don't.
They?
They do.
Am I tripping or am I the right? Okay,
no.
Okay,
so they probably do so much more than just what I was able to see on this one meeting. But basically, it was they just take like an IMC like kind of emergency situation and they analyze it. So it's like they have all these like 5 different options. What would you do in this situation? And there's kind of like no right answer, but you're able to like get all these people who have all this experience like chime in with their advice. Yeah, like what would you do if you had to go miss 3 times and you were low on fuel, and here are your options, here's the weather for this area, right? So it was kind of cool to be in that situation. And I went with and that was back when I was kind of in training. I went with my tutor at the time. Yeah. And so that was really cool to go. So yeah, there's definitely opportunities for getting more involved, and kind of that saying like your network's your net worth, but also just looking at it from the perspective that there's just so many options to meet other people who share your passion for aviation, and again, there's a bunch of people doing a bunch of different jobs and routes that I didn't even know were possible. And so yeah, it's really, really cool to be able to see how many and then also it is just so small. I feel like one person knows another people, and you're connected by just like a couple different people, right? So yeah, there's some opportunities for that as far as flying outside of thrust. The only bummer is that flying can be kind of expensive, right?
Yeah, I
So
would imagine so.
yeah, so I've done a little bit outside of thrust, but yeah, I'd love to do more, but it's just more along the lines of also time
I
too.
mean, yeah,
Like
you're
you're
working
also
full time
yeah,
as an
yeah, yeah.
instructor, and it's not. I mean, we fly all the time here at Thrust, so
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you got your hands full.
Yeah, yeah, but also I think one of those things where oh, what are your like kind of dreams or goals or whatever. I think it'd be really fun to have like my own like kind of like little GA plane,
Yeah.
and there's some like really cool like pictures online of like people who like convert hangars into like an apartment, like it's like their
Oh
house
man,
and
don't
an
get me started
apartment,
on
and
that sort of
yeah,
thing.
oh
Yeah,
dude, it looks
that's
so
a
cool, and
that's a rabbit hole I would go
yep,
down. You
yep,
know.
yep. I kind of like those like unconventional styles of living, like people living on like sailboats or like vans or like in a hangar. I think would just be kind
Yeah.
of cool tying in your passion with like making it like real easy for it.
Yeah.
But even then, yeah, just be able to fly and keep the flying bug and curiosity going.
Right.
Even like once I kind of get a more I guess yeah, like working at the airline, something like that.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it'd be really fun. So hopefully one day be able to get
Yeah.
something fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of insight in what you said too, because a lot of students have told me recently that they're like part of like groups, whether it be like Women in Aviation or 99 or something like that. And I
Yeah.
think that I used to hear people talk about the network thing all the time, and it just sounds so vague. And then going to like a one-off convention
Mhm.
can be helpful for some people, but you're gonna go there and try to be opportunistic and shake a hand and hope they remember you and get you a job later, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas going to some of these sort of clubs or associations can allow you to make some, more long-term relationships with people,
Yeah.
and those relationships are what often are going to benefit you in the long run. And you're going there to genuinely connect with them and
Yeah.
then allow it to genuinely benefit each other.
Yeah.
So I think that's cool for you to get involved in any of those things. I just wanted to know if that was something you did. Another thing I did really, really want to know about is was it difficult when you're first getting started? One of the biggest hurdles for anyone is paying for flight training.
Oh yeah.
Flight training's not cheap.
Yeah.
Even if you find the cheaper route, right? Some people they're gonna sit here and they're gonna weigh out their options. Okay, here's what I want to achieve, whether it be an airline pilot or just something like casual, just a private maybe or whatever. Should I do 61? Should I do 141? And obviously our program's a Part 141. It's a fast-paced, accelerated program.
Yeah.
We have examining authority. We're trying to get you guys as many hours as you'd like to get, and as many rings as you'd like to move forward with in a reasonable amount of time. That being said, it's career focused, and it's typically going to be a little more expensive. You could achieve it with Part 61 too, but people are still weighing out their options. So what I'm getting to is you chose to come to a fast-paced program.
Yeah.
And I don't know exactly how much you paid, right? But did you not see the number and think to yourself like, oh, how serious am I about this? Like, do I really want to do this?
Yeah.
Was that ever what happened in your mind when you saw that number?
Well, I did my discovery flight at kind of a mom and pop, like 61
Okay.
out in California, like outside of where I was living, and dude, great school, and
Yeah.
would have been great, but they had no opportunity for like taking out like a loan to be able to pay for training. So I was looking at it, going, okay, if I did this route, I'm gonna have to work, alongside of flight training, right? And again, I'm in my early 30s, so it's second career for me, right? Or
Right.
third, fourth, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever. I guess I don't know if yeah. Anyway, I've had a lot of jobs.
You've had a
Right?
couple of ventures.
Yeah,
So.
I've had some adventures for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so I was looking at it going, you know what? I kind of need to get my life going to where I can start this new journey and this new career,
Right.
but have it be feasible somewhat in the short term. So I was just kind of looking at it going, all right, I could go, the 61 route. And I had a buddy who is now working at SkyWest, and he went the 61 route, and he was working the whole time as a server and bartender. But I think it took him almost like 5 to 6 years to get through all of his training and all of his instructing, or like he instructed as well to time build and get to his 1500 and then get a job at the airlines. And I think if I was in my 20s, that'd probably be a good route. But again, everyone's coming from a different situation. So
Right.
so I looked at it going, all right, like I didn't have the full amount for flight training just sitting in my pocket, right? So I was looking at it going, okay, if I'm going to go somewhat fast and do this full time, I'm going to need to, look at taking out a loan type of thing. And so when I was weighing the pros and cons and deciding, okay, I want to just kind of go go about this full time, because I did that discovery flight too, and it was just like, dude, this is so much fun.
Yeah, it's
like
so cool.
I gotta keep doing this, right?
Yeah.
I was hooked. I was like, because I think some people, they'll go up in a discovery flight, and I think that's huge, is to go on a discovery flight, right?
Yeah.
But you can go up there, and a little tiny GA plane like a Cessna or an Archer, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be way different than, the 737 you're taking from LA to, Dallas or something like that,
it's not
right?
the same experience.
It is not the same. It is not the same at all. So I would highly recommend getting up there, because that's going to be where you spend your 1,500 hours, is in like a small little plane like that, most likely. And so when I did that, though, I enjoyed it, and I was like, yeah, I'm like 100% sure I want to do this. And so I just really looked at it going, okay, I mean, you could spend a lot of money going to college too, right?
Yeah.
And so just kind of looking at where the industry's at, and I have some mentors who are in the airline industry, and what we read online is they're kind of repeating that back, where it's like, yeah, we're looking pretty dang good as far as like needing a lot of pilots in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the benefits are gonna outweigh the risk, right? And that's what you kind of do with just flying in general, right? You're kind of weighing the risks of a certain flight, and is it safe to go, and is it worth the risk, right? Because you can't like eliminate all risk, right? So I mean, you could go through all this whole program, and then at some point, like I was like, there's a bunch of people who share their stuff on YouTube or just online or whatever. And there's this really cool guy that I was following, and he got a job at SkyWest, and then he got cancer, and he lost his medical. So then he couldn't fly for SkyWest. So it's like, and that was, he was kind of older. He's like in his 40s, 50s, and it was like his dream to be a pilot. And in his first year of being at SkyWest, he like lost his medical. So stuff like that can happen. So like, what would you do if you had that situation happen to you? And that's where I feel like there are so many cool opportunities in aviation that I think could still make it fun, right? I mean, there's so many cool jobs here at the Rest that like, guys are doing, right? So it's like anywhere from like the sales to kind of working on the different programs, right? Like on the marketing side with you guys. So you could get a job at like a flight school doing that. And then there's people who only teach grounds, right? So they're kind of like a ground only instructor if like you can't fly. Like we had an old instructor at one of the other locations who was doing a lot of the academies, and he had like an ear issue, and so he couldn't really fly anymore. And so that was just painful for him to go up. And so he basically just was a legend as far as like, dude, he was the really good ground instructor, right? There's other things you can do. You could go back to like instructing. You could get maybe get into aerobatics or airplane design or airplane sales if you're kind of savvy with that. So and then I mean, I think it would be stressful as heck, but at the same time, if you're good with comms, you could be ATC. You could go work at exactly one of the towers, something like that. There's mechanics, right? Actually, I saw one of the mechanic instructors the other day, and was chatting to him, and same thing. We need a lot of mechanics too.
Oh yeah, it's pretty crazy. The demand is really high. And of course we do that as well, right? We have a maintenance school here at Thrust. And it sounds like you were able to sit there and look at it, weigh the pros and cons, but not just that, like kind of normalize that. Hey, I'm gonna spend a lot of money. I'm gonna go full time. And I want to be full time. And there's options for me. And if even let's just say you get where you want to go, you should be able to. It's an investment that will return. It will return. And I think it's scary to take out big loans because we hear so much about college students who I think they say about only 40% of college graduates work in a field related to their degree. Maybe I need to look that up and verify how much of that is true, but that's not the same percentage we have of students who graduate through us who end up working as a pilot. It's a lot higher than that.
Oh, nice.
I say that to say, people think, oh, I take out this big student loan, and what if I don't get the job? And it's not quite the same when it comes to aviation. If you really want to do it, maybe there's going to be it might be pretty tough, but I mean, you're likely to get where you want to go in the long run. There's not a lot of people out there with the skills of flying a plane that can't find a job to fly a plane in the long run, unless there's some medical issues and things like that. But
and that's obviously like worst case scenario, right? Yeah.
So I mean, I guess I say that to say the path is there. for the taking. I feel like, and correct me if I'm wrong, but
no, I mean, 100% is there, and it's an option. And again, I just I talked to some mentors and people who are in the industry, and they even just recommended, hey, I think 141 would be the route to go, right? Because the other thing too is, I mean, I think the other argument for like going 61 is you could go, kind of at your own pace, and you could potentially do it for cheaper. But I just knew I was someone who enjoyed structure. And so also with that, like, let's say I was working half the time, right? So like part-time or even full-time while doing both flight training and training, flight training and working at the same time, right? If you go like a couple days without flying, you might take a whole lesson just to remember everything you did, before. And there's another guy I actually toured a week or two ago, and he only flew like every summer. And so every summer he would come back to, take a month to kind of relearn everything that he was doing. Right. So he ended up being at like 80 hours and was still working on his private pilot license. Right. Whereas like our program, maybe more around like that, like anywhere from like, 40 to 60 or something, kind of depends on the student. But yeah, so I feel like it could, if you are a really disciplined person, you could probably make 61 work for you in a better way. Yeah. But I don't think, I'm just talking for me and just, I was not that way, right? Yeah, exactly. And I feel like with you might think you're super disciplined, but then when it actually comes down to it, it might be a struggle. And so I knew kind of that about me, where I think I would enjoy the structure, and then just being able to go more full time with it, and just kind of not delay it any further. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Tim, for sitting down with me again. I think we've, again, we could probably talk all day. Right. But thanks for joining in again, because I feel like there's some things I didn't really get to follow up with last time that we got to talk a little bit more about here. And I think that a lot of this information is really helpful for people, whether they're in flight training or thinking about starting flight training. Good. And that's really the whole goal here. I want people to just feel like they have at least an inside scoop or look at how things are going at a school like Thrust Flight. Obviously, this episode of Pilots Say What, where we get to hear what pilots have to say, is one of many, one we do every single week here, sponsored by Thrust Flight. My name is Zach. We do this weekly. And if you guys enjoyed anything that, we talked about here, leave a comment underneath. I'm sure maybe you'll see these comments. I don't know if you go check out the episode later.
But actually, the first one, I'm a little nervous to watch it, so I didn't actually watch the first one.
That's how a lot of people say that. I don't see it back. So.
Yeah. So I don't know. Well, and also I'm not really on like social media.
I hear you. Gotcha. So I try to. If you guys leave any comments for Tim, I'll get them to him and I'll make sure. Yeah. But otherwise, we love to inspire a little bit of a conversation down in the comment section. So. Unless there's anything you want to add, I think we'll wrap it up.
Oh no! Well, I was gonna say I think there was someone from like the last podcast who like reached out and wanted to like ask questions to me, and then I don't think they ever like. I think they like gave them my like work email or something like that. Yeah, they didn't hit me up, but like I'd be happy to like talk or answer anyone's questions or anything like that. Okay, sweet. Always happy to chat and try and help someone out.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I remember that comment too. Yeah, so if you guys heard them, so we look forward to hearing from you. Like, comment, subscribe if you're still listening, because I'm sure you enjoyed it enough to get this far. And we'll see you guys next week on the next episode.